Hello and welcome to the Happy Mama. My name's Hannah. If you're new here, I post videos all about being a mom, surprise, gentle parenting, holistic lifestyle videos, healthy eating videos, you name it, it's on this channel. So if you like variety, be sure to subscribe and like this video. So today's video is a video I'm really excited to make because it's another area of my life I'm really passionate about, and that is natural birth. This is going to be starting the series in my channel of just natural birth or birth tips, even if it's not about wanting to have an unmedicated birth or not. And this is the first one. So it's going to be steps you can take to increase your chances of having the natural birth you desire. I know, that's a big statement to say, for sure. But I truly feel that these will help anyone achieve the birth that they are yearning for, regardless of if it is for a natural birth or not. However, this does lean towards more so like an unmedicated birth. So let's get to tip one, and that is your mindset. I talk about mindset so much on my channel, people probably think I'm a broken record when it comes to talking about mindset and having the right mindset, a positive mindset, and I feel like it's a big trend in the world right now, but for a good reason. Especially when it comes to birth, your mental outlook on birth and going into your labor is probably the number one most important thing that's going to determine whether you have the birth you're dreaming of. Now, I also want to just, add a disclaimer, and that is regardless of if whatever your birth turns out to be, it's going to be beautiful. Regardless of what ends up happening, or say you've had past birth experiences that did not go as planned, I don't want you to think I'm downplaying those struggles or that it was your fault, because that is not the case whatsoever. And every birth, regardless of whether it's a C-section, regardless of whether you have an epidural, regardless of if you have it at home, at a birth center, at the hospital, they're all beautiful. You're bringing a new soul into this world, and that in itself is amazing. Like, no one, we as women are the only ones to have this capability and be able to experience bringing life into this world. So with that, I just want to put that out there, that whatever you've been through or whatever you end up going through, it's beautiful and you are a warrior for going through it. When it comes to specifically on birth, I feel like a common mindset, especially for women who are maybe thinking about having an unmedicated birth, is that I hear a lot of people say, I'm going to try. But here's the thing when it comes to an unmedicated birth. Trying is not good enough. And you're actually setting your mind and yourself up to fail when you say try. Because that means you're going to give it a go, but you're not committed for it to happen. And with a natural birth, you have to be full-blown committed. You have to be in it or out. There's no in between. There's no gray area. It has to be your only choice. I know going into my birth with my son, when people would hear my wishes of having an unmedicated birth, they would be like, well, you're gonna be okay though if you do decide you need an epidural. And it was like, no, that I won't ever come to that place, because that is not an option in my mind. It's as if I lived not that long ago when epidurals weren't even around. That's what my mindset was. This is how committed I was, and that's how much I wanted to have a natural unmedicated birth. Which brings me to a side point of, be sure your why is strong enough. If you're just doing this just to be like for fun, it's not going to be a big enough why to get you to have that birth. But for me, for example, I had just always had this a vision of having a natural birth, because I am for the most part against medication and a kind of westernized type of medicine, and I wanted to bring my child in a way that was conducive to my beliefs and my views. Now with that, I know this, on posting stuff like that on the internet can be very triggering for people, so this isn't to say I don't think it's never necessary, but that was one of my mindsets going into it. I just had a strong belief, and I also wanted to experience this gift that only us women can experience. So I wanted to put myself in that position, and it was like almost a dream of mine. I've always been into birth. Even when I was young, I loved watching animals give birth. I really don't know where it came from, but I had a passion for natural birth. It wasn't something I had heard of, and that was it. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll try it. I was going to have a natural birth. So remember that when you are like, well, do I want to try? No, sister. It's either you're in it or you're not. That being said, I also want to quickly go over how the media portrays birth and how we're kind of programmed to think birth is, which is pretty traumatic, scary, super painful, lots of screaming, lots of people panicking, not knowing what to do. That's kind of what we've been programmed to see, hear, and live through since the time we were born. And that is a huge thing that we have to cancel out before our labor starts. So we want to first commit, second, reframe our mind and retrain our mind and our belief systems to know that birth is not this traumatic event. Birth is a natural event. All women have done it before us. All mammals who are females have done it, and they continue to do it without needing medication. So that in itself should say something to you and to everyone about how birth truly is, and that it can be a beautiful experience, and it can be a calm experience, and it can be an experience you look back on and you're like, wow, I want to relive that day. And again, I'm going to reference back to my birth, but there are so many other women out there who've had the same experience of, after I gave birth to my son, was the situation intense? Yes, the most intense situation I've ever been through. But I wanted to relive that day over and over and over. In fact, I had a piece of clothing that was at the birth center. I had my son at the birth center, and it had this smell on it. I don't know if it was a nurse wearing a perfume, if essential oil got on it, I don't know. But this shirt ended up smelling like the room at this birth center. And every time I smelled it, it brought me back. And I did not want to wash that shirt because I didn't want to let it go. It was just something I thoroughly wanted to relive as many times as possible. So I'm just saying, there are beautiful, calm births, and they are out there, and they are more common than you think, and they are completely 110% possible for you to obtain as well. So you want to start reframing your mind by watching peaceful, calm births, or whatever type of birth you're looking to have. Look for them on YouTube. There will be so many. For me, I wanted a peaceful, enjoyable birth, and that's what I looked up on YouTube, and that's what I started filling my brain with. And I didn't allow myself to watch the traumatic births. I didn't allow myself to listen to the people who wanted to tell me their scary stories. And because we all know they're there. We don't need to be told. We all know by this point what can go wrong. And there's no need for us to fill our mind with it. That's just my perspective, and that's the perspective I took preparing for my birth. So fill your mind, read lots and lots of positive birth stories, watch lots of people telling their stories, fill your mind with good birth stories, reprogram your mind and your belief system. Which brings me to my next tip, which is to join or enroll in a natural birth class. For me, I chose hypnobirthing, and I absolutely loved it. I have a separate video on that, kind of going into a bit more detail and my thoughts and feelings on it in another video, but as you can tell from this video, Like I already said, I really enjoyed it and I highly, highly recommend it. It again dives into reframing your mind on what birth really is and how it pans out. And it also gives you techniques to get through labor and the sensations of labor, along with educating you on what your body will naturally do and what the feelings you will feel during different stages of your labor. And the more educated you can get on natural birth, the better. So that brings me to my third tip, which is educate, educate, educate. Keep learning, and keep learning as much as you possibly can till your labor starts. Never stop reading about natural birth and the natural process. The more you know, the more confident you will be. And again, it goes back to reframing that mind. And if you are confident, you know what's going on, and you have these positive images, it just sets yourself up for success. Also, along with all of that, you want to let go of any fears. Fears are something that I think are the major factor holding people back from having the birth they desire. There are so many major fears of birth. I think the main one being pain, but you need to let go of the fears. I'm going to be creating a separate video on birth fears and how to let them go, but you need to pinpoint what you're most scared of when it comes to unmedicated birth, and you need to go deep, find where that came from and let that go, because those can really hold you back when it comes to your labor and even stall your labor. Tip number 4 is have a birth plan. This is very controversial, but for me, again, it goes back to kind of to the mental aspect of birth. And if you have an end goal all written out in detail of what your dream birth would be, that's what you can focus on throughout your entire pregnancy. That's also a great reference for when you are in labor and the people, your group of people that are surrounded with you can reference when you can't answer. Because something I didn't know about birth, side note, I am going to be making a separate video on what they don't tell you about giving birth, but is that you can't really answer questions. I know when I walked into the birth center, I remember the nurse being like, okay, what do you want me to do? Or what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And I was just like, I couldn't even answer it. I can't explain it, but you just can't answer it. At least for me, that was my experience. You can't answer questions. So having that birth plan there not only sets you up to be focusing on it the whole pregnancy, but also when it comes time, people know what you're yearning for, and they can support you in those decisions. Should also be techniques on how you want to deal with the sensations of birth, or some would say pain management. I just don't use the word pain for birth, but you want to have those lists so then who's ever supporting you on your birth team can look at those and be like, okay, we can try this, because in the moment you're not going to remember any of it. I didn't, at least. I was just totally in birth land. Anything before, after that time was gone. I was just in with my body. Tip number 5 is have a doula. Now, not everyone who doesn't have a doula ends up having the birth they don't want. However, for me personally, I knew I definitely wanted someone there besides the medical team and besides my husband, who knew about birth, who had been around women giving birth and knew how to support them without them asking. I wanted someone there who could guide my husband. And that confidence, again, it just gave me confidence knowing that I will have someone there supporting me who knows exactly how to support me mentally and physically. And that's a peace of mind for me. That was a confidence boost. And let me tell you, she was amazing. She knew what she was doing. That's all I'm saying. The things she did for me during labor every time, like for example, one of her things was she put a cold towel right on my neck and shoulders, a big ice cold towel. Sounds like it would be shocking, but in labor I was all about it. And every time she did that, and she would change it, she would be like on it about changing it to keep it cold. It was just, I just always remember being like, like it felt so good. So having someone there who knows exactly what you're going through and knows exactly how to support you with not being, and knows your birth plan and being able to support you and your spouse was a game changer. I mean, I never had a birth without one, but I just feel like she would have been a game changer if that's how it would have been. Also, it was nice when I was in early stages of birth to be able to text her, bless her heart, and call her and be like, all right, this is what's happening, what's going on, you know, instead of just kind of calling the birth center and then being like, all right, you're fine, just go relax. You know what I mean? They were a great support team, the people I had, but you get what I'm saying. Mine kind of coincides with the doula, but it is have a support system, and be sure that support system knows you and knows your birth plan very well. So for me, my support system was my husband and my doula, but it could be anyone for you. It could be your mom, it could be your cousin, your aunt, I don't know, whoever you want to be with you during birth. Be sure they know you really well and they know your birth plan, so they can speak up for you in times where things are happening and you're not able to. Or also so they can just be that extra added support that knows your goals, that knows what you truly want, and they can help you focus on that during labor. These next two tips are kind of no-brainers, but tip number 6 is keep moving, exercise. Don't do strenuous exercises, but keep your body in good shape, keep it flexible, and keep everything flowing. The better your blood flow, the more toned your muscles are, the more you keep moving, the easier your labor will be, and it won't be so traumatic on your body and your mental state when you're in it, because you will have prepared your body a bit physically. You know, you don't have this marathon runners who are just like, all right, I'm gonna run 5 miles next month, and then they go and don't do anything about it. No, you want to prepare your body for however long your labor ends up being. And some people have really short labors, but you don't know if that's going to be you. So just prepare the body, keep your body moving, go for walks, go for some light jogs, do lots of stretches so your body's just very flexible and it opens easy, and do what you can to make the whole birthing process easier. This brings me to my next tip, and that is to go to the chiropractor. I swore by my chiropractor. She kept everything aligned. She helped with any pregnancy discomfort. And even at the beginning stages of my labor, I went to her for the labor discomforts. So I was having pretty intense lower back pain and lots of pressure. The pressure's normal. The back pain's normal for some people too, but I went to her and had her do an adjustment and some physical, like some actual massage, and it was amazing. In fact, after that, I think not even 20 minutes after that, I went into active labor where, you know, things started to ramp up. So I highly suggest a chiropractor. This will help you with pregnancy discomforts. This will also make sure you are lined up and baby can get in the best position to be birthed. Number 8 is eat healthy. Again, duh, you know, like, but just be sure you are eating whole foods from the earth. Minimize processed foods, minimize sugar, minimize any junk that they have in the being served in front of our faces every single day that actually are hard on your body. You want this to be a time to where you can really enjoy your pregnancy. As eating healthy is not only going to give you an easier pregnancy, it's also going to give you an easier labor. So, but you want to be sure that you're having a really enjoyable pregnancy so you can go in with that positive mindset into your labor, and you're not to the point where you're like, just get the baby out of me. No shame if that was you or if that is you, but you get what I'm saying. Like, just set yourself up, eat healthy, eat real foods. Here and there, fine. But pregnancy for me wasn't a time to just eat whatever I wanted because I was gonna get a belly anyways. That's not what it was. It was, you know, you want to nurture the baby, you want to nurture your body, and it'll help for faster healing after birth too. So get in the groove now. In your birth plan, pick and practice techniques to cope with the sensations of birth, or like I said, some people would call pain management, And this way, you are set to do it in labor. There's so many different techniques now when it comes to, managing the sensations of birth. There's breathing, there's meditation, there's making sounds. The list goes on, but be sure that you've kind of practiced them beforehand. So some of them will come natural. Like for me, I made a lot of sounds at the end of my labor. It wasn't me consciously doing it. It was my body just making these sounds. But I also had a list of things I was going to try during labor that I had practiced beforehand. Why would you do this? Well, you want to be sure when you're in labor, you know how I brought up how you don't really remember things and you kind of are a little bit out of it. You want to be sure your mind and your body know how to do these things like the back of your hand. So when someone brings it up, say your birth team is like, all right, let's practice the breathing. You've done it so many times it comes natural. Because if it doesn't come natural, you're not going to do it during your labor. So whatever it is, I'm going to do a separate video on this as well. But practice it beforehand so you can, pull it out of the bag of tools to use while you're in labor. Last tip is tip number 11, and that is take supplements that promote an easier labor. I'm going to name a few, but there are so many more, so you're welcome to look them up, and maybe I'll even do a separate video on that. But evening primrose oil, red raspberry leaf tea, and dates, not only known to help the cervix dilate and everything to be really soft and supple down there, but they've also been shown to help with easier labors. So there's so much more to this video than what I've spoken, but this would be so much longer. That's why I'm going to be breaking this down into a series to hopefully give you as much information on natural birth and unmedicated birth so you can go into your labor confident, ready, and excited to give birth. If this helped you in any way, shape, or form, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. I thank you all so much for joining me, and if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. Let me know your due dates down below as well. I'd love to hear, and if you're having a boy or girl, or if you're waiting to find out. Thank you all, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!